Welcome to the Dark Horse Paranormal Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carr.
And I am Kristen Johnson.
And how the hell are you? Happy Thirsty Thursday, folks.
Happy Thirsty Thursday.
We're back. Last week, we were at our friend James Anito's house having dinner. And tonight, we were just like, nope. We're sweating and eating pizzas and
again.
sending out. And it's the way tonight's rolling.
Well, New England is extremely hot right now.
It is like a lot of parts of the country. We're going through a heat wave, and we've got some air conditioning and stuff, but not in this room. So, unfortunately,
if you hear
it would be too loud anyway. So, we kind of got a fan over there. Hopefully, it's not bleeding through. But no, I hope you guys are doing good. We've been watching a lot of movies and enjoying the summer, liking a lot of the classic horror movies out there. Vincent Price.
Yeah.
Yes. Great stuff. A Pit and the Pendulum, among others.
The Haunted Palace was our favorite.
And Haunted Palace was awesome. Yes, that's a really good movie. That's from like 1963.
Yeah, my mom and I used to watch them when I was a little girl. So
yeah, they're surprisingly good. You know, they're cheesy, but it's great horror. We see the same props and like some, movies around the same time period from the same film company. Which is pretty funny.
Same Vincent Price kind of movies. So
yes.
So if you ever see the background of those, the memorabilia, didn't you go on a tear with that the other night?
I did. I went down a rabbit hole with Hollywood props and memorabilia from horror movies, and we're even thinking about doing another channel doing movie reviews or something. Maybe something produced different, not like live and with special effects. So, it might be interesting. So we'll keep you posted on that. Let's see, Michael's out there from Dark Hour Paranormal. Hello.
Hi, Michael.
What's going on, buddy? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
And we got a great guest for you. He stepped in. We originally had Shay Carroll planned for tonight, but she had some internet issues, and we've been trying to get this guy on for a while now. Yes. We just haven't been able to line it up, and he was able to come in tonight and save the day. So we're really appreciative of him. And he's a longtime paranormal investigator. He's investigated some of the most haunted areas of New England and beyond, really. And he's got some great stories, and we love chatting with him. We're going to bring him right on right now. His name is Jeremy Cotter. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hey, guys.
What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Hey, man, I love the intro. I was watching it when you guys were getting going. It was really cool, And
thank you.
I would say that my favorite Vincent Price movie is The House on Haunted Hill, but that's definitely my.
Oh yeah, that's a classic. That's really good.
Yeah.
It's surprising how good those movies are. They go back. They're a little campy and all that, but they're still fun to watch. And
it's all about Vincent Price. I mean, he makes the movie. The movie didn't make him. He's definitely the centerpiece every single time you see him perform. So
most definitely.
Absolutely. So you're a fan of horror movies too?
Oh yes, everything from the old school black and white Universal Studios all the way up to current day stuff. I try to follow a little bit of everything, but I do love the classics, the old black and whites, the Draculas, Frankensteins, and Creatures of the Black Lagoon, and all that kind of stuff. So, definitely, I love it.
Being a local guy, did you watch Creature Double Feature on Channel 56 growing up?
Oh, yeah, when you could get the dial to click in the right direction so you could get the station to pop up, it was perfect. Rabbit ears galore back in the day. I remember all that stuff. Yeah,
it's on 5638. So the two hardest channels to get.
I look forward to that every week. Yeah, we both did. What did we just watch too? The other movie that we had both seen as kids.
The Trilogy of Terror.
Trilogy of Terror.
It's the first time I saw it since I was like, I don't know, 5.
I'm not sure if I've seen it. It's been a long time since I have seen it.
You might remember one scene. So it's 3 movies in one. It's like 3 different stories in the one movie, and it has the same main actress. It's Karen Black. She's in all 3 of them. And the last one has this little Zulu fetish guy. He's like a little guy. He's like carved, hand carved, and he comes to life, and he's kind of like the original Chucky, and he's running around her apartment.
Oh,
trying to
I think I remember that scene. Yeah, it's been, like I said, it's been a long, long time since I've seen
Yeah,
it.
that's what I said.
Same.
It's the only memorable one to me, at least.
Yeah,
I remember that one, not the other two.
Yeah, it was super cool though. We watched that
That
as
was
well.
awesome.
So, what was it like growing up? What first got you into the paranormal?
I'll be honest with you, man. I didn't get into the paranormal until probably a little less than 10 years ago. My wife was a big proponent of the shows. She used to watch Ghost Hunters and Paranormal State and all the other shows. And one day hi Naomi, how you doing? Yeah, she wanted to go to an investigation, and our very first investigation was at the S.K. Pierce Haunted Victorian Mansion out in Gardner. And I was very skeptical. I was very leery. I kind of was like, I don't know if this is, but I'll go with her because she really wants to go, and I'd go along with her. And we went to the S.K. Pierce, and from the very beginning, I started having interactions, and I'm like, well, this can't really be happening, right? I mean, we were doing a walk around like an hour before we were actually doing an investigation, and I saw a shadow figure pop out from a corner of a room, and I was looking for anything that could be possibly there, like a camera or mist or something that would like projected on the wall, because I didn't want to believe that it was actually real. And then when I saw it just disappear, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And Naomi's right. I did fall hard for it after the first time, because, like I said, I didn't really watch the shows. I really wasn't involved in any of that. I fell into it naturally. And we've been to places like S.K. Pierce. We've been to places like the Murdoch Whitney Mansion out in Winchendon, which is also the Historical Society. I think they also have the Isaac Morse house is attached to that too, which was a very interesting place over there. And it's been an interesting ride, I will say, for a while now. Hey, Jason.
Hi, Jason.
It's I find getting more and more involved with the paranormal, and all the friends that I've been able to make along the way, I treasure them very greatly. And I look forward to the next chapter. And even working where I've been for like the last year plus, and working in a hospital, I've even had experiences there as well. But
yeah, exactly. We wanted to get into that. I know you've got some good haunted hospital stories for us, and I just wanted to say I totally agree. The community is wonderful out here.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I mean, you get a little bit of the paradrama here or there, but for the most part, everybody that I know, we all get along great, and I love all the people that I've pretty much been involved with for a while now, whether we met them in New York or Pennsylvania or up and down the East Coast. And it's been a really awesome experience. I'm kind of glad I got involved in it, and it's been evolving. And,
so you work in a hospital, and you've hospital place. Obviously, a lot of people pass in hospitals, and I mean that's sad, but the likelihood of hospitals being haunted, of course, is really high. And I'm sure you've had some interesting experiences. Do tell.
I will say that I have. The very first one I had was about 3 or 4 months after I started working at the hospital. What I do is I work in nutritional services. I deliver food to the patients' rooms and to the different floors and whatnot. And one day I was delivering a tray to the critical care unit, and it was amazing because I was going over, and when I got a really sharp pain in my stomach, and I was getting flush and sweating, and I was like, what's going on? I felt this rush of energy take into me. And when I was going back downstairs after I had dropped off the food, I had found out that somebody had just passed in the room right next to me.
Oh.
And I actually felt his last pain, and it actually washed away. And
wow.
And you actually saw a little bit of a bright light above his head, and I swear I saw him ascend out of, his family members were around him, and it was quite an arm time. I mean, I'm already getting goosebumps thinking about just talking to you guys on the podcast right now. It was quite amazing,
It must be really touching and kind of heartwarming and mind blowing at the same time.
It's sad.
It is. it is sad on the one side of it, and then I think on the other side, at least he's not in pain anymore, and he was
Good.
able to to move on. And
Mm.
um,
And had
I've
family there
Like
and that
him.
kind of thing as well.
yeah,
Alone.
I mean, I've been very well blessed with the fact that I have been able to develop my skills as a sensitive, and I can actually communicate directly with the spirits. And I'm, I take that very, very personally, that I'm able to hear them and get their stories, and just see them walking around in certain areas of the hospital. I had one instance about a month later that was in the long-term care area, and I was in delivering food at in the kitchenette area, and there was a gentleman sitting at a table wearing a blue and black plaid shirt, and I looked over it, and he looked up at me, and then I turned away, and he was gone when I looked back over it, and he ended up passing away. Like 5 minutes later, they were calling for a code blue in that area, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't know what. Sometimes they're very, very clear, and sometimes they come as shadows, and
That's interesting. And when you say you see them, do you see them more like in your mind's eye, or do you see them with your physical eyes?
I'll be honest with you, my physical eye, I mean, just clear as day. Like I'm talking to you, I've seen shadow figures walk from room to room in certain corridors at certain times of the morning. I saw a shadow figure in one of the holding areas down in the emergency department that they use to house the mentally unbalanced people when they come in for certain things or whatnot and so forth. And
Interesting.
but I mean, that's the whole seeing the ghosts was started way before I worked at the hospital. It's just happened to have become more evolved since then.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't always pop up all the time, but they have a tendency to, if they want to say something, and I can actually hear them, and it's really cool. And a lot of times I've had people back up what I've actually heard with my own ears and see my eyes with using the recording devices and stuff. So
Yeah, right. It's like confirmation, and certainly, it gives you confidence in that ability, and rightfully so. Why do you think they appear as shadows so often?
I'm not really sure. I wish I had more of a technical explanation for that. Hey David, I think that they can I think that they are, whatever kind of energy that they may have might be what they're able to produce. Whether it's a child-size energy, or whether it's a full-size adult, or whether they can come through clearer, or it's just like a mass shadow. I'm not really sure how they go about doing it, because if I had that answer, I'd be able to do a lot more than I have so far. And I wish I'm definitely not more. I'm more on the naturalist side of the paranormal. Like I believe in the communication side, and I'm not a tech guy, so I can't give you the, hey Steve, how you doing? I don't have the technical stuff with all the equipment, because I don't use any of that stuff. I'm old school. Pendulums and my dowsing rods and a basic recorder, even a cell phone if you're recording like voice things and then play back the recording that you get on your cell phone.
Sure.
I've had luck with getting results that way too. I respect all the technology. I just don't understand it. So I figured that I'll stick with my wheelhouse and the things that work for me.
Right.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
yourself.
Well, they can use anything.
Mhm.
Anything can work, right? And does work. When they want to
absolutely.
communicate, they do. I mentioned the shadow figures because you mentioned shadow figures a couple of times, and people theorize often, what they are. One person's, shadow figure is a deceased, relative to another person's, childhood terror, like in Kristen's example. It would be a good example of that, right? Like she really scared of shadow figures because she saw them as a kid and they were abusive to her. But then a lot of people look at that and relate it to, like, say, the Hat Man and that sort of thing. But other people will say, like,
I've heard the Hat Man, yeah.
to like materialize and can't fully materialize, so you just kind of see a shadow or something similar. So I just was wondering your thoughts on that. It's interesting to see them, particularly in that ward that you mentioned downstairs, for the more unstable folk. it makes me wonder. My first thought was like, is it the spirit of somebody who's deceased down there, or is there something that's possessing somebody?
No, I think that like the spirits that I've seen were from people who have passed inside the hospital. I mean, I wasn't there right when the height of the pandemic had gone on, when people were unfortunately leaving left and right, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And they lost a lot of folks during that time period, and I really do feel that it has caused a shift in the paranormal universe ever since the pandemic hit. I feel that it's the veil, quote unquote, the veil, so to speak, is definitely thinner than it ever has been, and I feel that people's experiences have become a lot more profound than they were in years past. But that's just my opinion personally.
It might be, even before the pandemic. Seems like in the last, I don't know, 5-10 years, that each year it just seems like there's better and better data out there. Although there's more people doing this stuff, there's more technology. Everybody's got a camera, with them at all times on their cell phone.
Yeah.
Maybe Wallace Higgins says, my grandson sees spirits as dark shadows, but never negative. So, there's that side, similar to what you're saying.
I gotta say, Chris, for the most part, I haven't dealt with any shadows personally that have been like negative or angry towards me. And usually when I communicate with them, they've been very open to try to get some sort of a message if possible. Sometimes they just have, they try to use the device to talk, but I've never had anything like majorly aggressive towards me. The only, I've had very, very strong energy like come into me when I've actually done I've actually had a couple of I did some channeling sessions and on the USS Salem, and I had a very, very strong interaction with a couple of spirits on there, and that was quite that was quite a trip too, I will say.
Well, speaking of that, a lot of our audience, is not local and maybe not familiar with the Salem. Would you like to tell them a little bit about that? It's a pretty famous place here in New England. We know the Salem, but outside of it.
Well, I don't know all of the details, but it's a haunted ship that's in Quincy, Massachusetts, run by a friend of mine, Don, and his team, and it's a great location that I've been to several times, and I've never been disappointed when I go to the USS Salem, and I've had a lot of really, really amazing experiences there. And if you ever get a chance to come into the Boston area, I think that the USS Salem is definitely a great place to go to.
I've heard so many stories about the Salem, and I think, correct me if I'm not wrong, I don't think she ever saw warfare. And
no, I believe she did not. I know that she was
a destroyer, but there's something about it that is just makes it really haunted. And there's just so many stories. It's one of those things. It can't be psychological. Without
getting the facts wrong, I do believe that she was used as a hospital out on the water, and several people passed away on the ship from that hospital, and a couple of accidents here or there. I believe that the spirit count is right around 100 or so, but I don't have all the direct facts.
That's higher than I thought. I thought it was just a handful. So it's actually like 100 people over the years.
Yeah, I mean, apparently, I mean, that's what I remember about the details of that part of it. I just know that when I get a chance to go there, it's been always an amazing experience for me. Earlier this year, I was one of the last groups of people to get to actually investigate the Maplecroft, Lizzie Borden's Maplecroft, before that got bought by a private owner and turned into a private residence. That was what an amazing house, I will say.
Yes.
Right. A lot of people don't know that too. So the Lizzie Borden house that most people know, you and I met in, is in Fall River. But after the murders and she was acquitted and all that, she moved to a nicer home, really,
in the Highlands.
In the Highlands, where she really wanted to live, called Maplecroft. And
that's a beautiful place. My wife Jean and I, we were actually there investigating it with Lucky Belcamino and her New England Paranormal Society team, the NEPS team, and that was we were there with a few other people too who were really, really good at what they did. And it was a great time. I'm glad I got a chance to actually see Maplecroft. I had heard stories about how beautiful it is and how active it was, and didn't get any actual chance to walk the halls. And there's a lot of stairs and a lot of floors, and it's quite a beautiful place. It's unfortunate that it's now a private residence, and nobody will ever get a chance to walk the halls again doing an investigation. But I feel very fortunate to be able to have done that. So
That's excellent. That's excellent. If there was a place that you would call like the most haunted place that you've been to in the New England area, or outside of it even, what would you say it was?
Let's see. I know that, like, for me, it was the SK Pierce, because I've had experiences there quite a few times. Then there's all like the USS Salem was definitely one of my hotbed spots. Rolling Hills in New York, I got to go there once a few years ago, and my God, that place is got so much energy. I would love to go back there and do that again. And
Road trip.
Yeah,
exactly. And actually, in a few weeks, Gettysburg. We're going. My Gene and I are heading to Gettysburg for the big battlefield bash that's going on down there in August, and just walking going to the battlefields and walking around out there. I've heard everything from phantom gunshots going off to full-blown conversations going on over near monuments, and there's nobody standing there. And I mean, it is extremely active. I mean, I know that it's a very sacred place because of all the history that's involved with the Civil War and everything down there. I can't wait to go back there and just get the energy again.
I mean, the respect has to go everywhere you go, really, and with it, dealing with any of these things, the discarnate. But certainly in a battlefield, and I know it's very well known for its full-bodied apparition photos. There seem to be a lot of those that spill out of Gettysburg. Any place I can think of off the top of my head.
There's some really great spots. You can get some amazing evidence, like the Sachs covered bridge, the hanging bridge, or Devil's Den, which is a nice rock formation where they had some battles over there. And
yes,
yeah, it's amazing. I mean, if you ever get a chance to go down there and just tour around, even in the battlefields, I mean, they go for like forever. It feels like down there in certain areas, but
you're right. It's pretty large. There's a lot to see, right?
It really is. The cemetery is a beautiful cemetery too. The memorial cemetery that they have in the downtown area. It has its own.
That'll be your first trip to Gettysburg then, coming up.
And this is our third time there. This will be our third time this year. Yeah, we went in 2019, and then we went last year when they brought it back because they had shut down for the pandemic, and just like the whole world shut down, they obviously shut down everything. And,
it sure did.
Yeah, it did.
And absolutely. I know that. We're going to the Warrens Paracon this year in Connecticut. Get a chance to go see Annabelle again, which is quite the amazing doll, to say the least. Yeah. You had a chance to see Annabelle yet?
No, I've never seen the real Annabelle. We were talking about going last year, and then we ended up just not going. It was a particular weekend. We had something else going on. Mm-hmm. But I would like to go. And of course, the year before that was the COVID year. So, pandemic. Yeah. Once we got together, COVID hit, and I was like, okay, everything's closed. So we're still catching.
Put the brakes on a lot of people, it felt like,
We agree.
I'm just glad to be back out and doing things and seeing my friends. And last weekend, we went to a para fair down in Rockland.
Oh, yeah. Matt Warren's.
Yeah.
The Wicked Piss of Para Fair.
Yeah, Matt Warner's Paracon. I'll tell you, he did a great job. They had a great turnout. I'm very proud to be a member of his paranormal society down there, and he's got a lot of good things going on at the Heart Stuff Hall.
He's a good dude. Have you investigated the Heart Stuff?
Yeah, 2 times. One time I was there where when he first got into the hall, he brought us all together and we did a private go through. And then with one time I helped out with an event with Tiffany Rice. She was doing a combination gallery slash paranormal event down there, and helped out a little bit with that too. So it
Nice.
has its own particular energy. It has its own spirits, and I think that the doors are just getting cracked open on that place. That place is really a cool place to go to too. You know.
Yeah, yeah. And he just opened that fairly recently. We talked to him on here not too long ago, and I think he was just getting it ready. It was a little before he had opened it up. So it's still, somewhat virginal out there, unlike a lot of places that we all know and love. And if you're local, that is definitely a place to look into, but you probably already know about it, especially if you're watching a show like this.
Yeah, at least I would hope so. I mean, and if you don't, you do now. So
yeah, now you do. Now you do.
I think the most important thing, at least for me, is supporting my friends and my para family and all of their endeavors, and as much as we can, and just get a chance to go and on the next adventure, and then the one after that. And I think this field is only as much fun as your next adventure.
There you go. Well, that's the right attitude, and that's what builds the community and ties us all together and that sort of thing. And it's how you make really good friends. We've made wonderful friends in the paranormal, so I totally understand local and even not so local. Having this show, we've had guests on it we became great friends with, really, that we would have just never known otherwise, and it's a fantastic thing, and probably the biggest gift from it all, other than, well, I guess the experiences themselves, and that's the whole thing with the paranormal, is like trying to tell somebody who hasn't had that experience, like you mentioned previous to going to SK Pierce, you were skeptical, and it's hard to really describe what it's like when something that is unexplainable happens, and you just go, how did that really happen? Did that really did you see what that kind of thing? And it doesn't happen all the time. It's not 24/7, and it's certainly no guarantees, but when it does, it is an interesting experience and unlike any other.
I would be remiss if I didn't put in, as far as haunted locations, the Conjuring House. I mean, I've been there twice, and both times were really amazing experiences. That was back when Corey and Jen had been running the property, and it was cool.
Yeah.
David says Endeavor, $5 word.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah. Oh, that's my friend Dave.
On that note, we'll tell our viewers that are on the Paranormal United Network or Fun TV right now, we do appreciate the stars. I know it was Nina Ferrari gave us
Thursday,
1,000 stars last Thursday, and we couldn't see it. We were actually at James' house last week.
Yes.
And we're going down there Sunday. We're going to go see him on Sunday.
We didn't have our normal stuff. Like, we didn't have the laptop and things.
Yeah,
we couldn't see the comments. So we didn't know until after the show. We didn't get a chance to thank her. And if you're out there, Nina, thank you for that. We appreciate it. Yeah. And that's cool that you're going out with James. James is a great guy. I think he has this awesome gift of like getting people together. And we saw you on Friendsgiving and talked to you then.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Right after Thanksgiving last year. And lots of cool people there hanging out, and he's really good at that. I don't know, he's got a knack.
I think it's really cool that like this whole paranormal experience has brought together me with a bunch of people from all different walks of life that you might not have ever had a chance to admit if it wasn't for this whole what they call paranormal universe. And I know paranormal unity is kind of a hot button topic to some people because of this, that, and the other thing, but I feel that I'm very unified with everybody that I get a chance to interact with. And to me, that's the most important thing, hopefully, getting a chance to go do some more investigations this year. And maybe when it's a little cooler, because this heat's kind of a bit on the standpoint side. Yeah.
We need some air conditioned Victorian homes to go into.
Oh yeah. We just did the Emory Estate, which is a location on the south shore, down in the Middleborough area, I believe, with Christie Parish, and Sam Baltrusis was down there, and
Sam.
There was a lot of that was a really cool place because it's just getting opened up to people and getting a chance to walk around. It's a lot bigger on the inside than it looks like on the outside. I will say that. I
think I saw some pictures actually that Sam posted about that, and it did look really cool. So you were there. You enjoyed that?
Yeah, it was a good time. I interacted with a couple of spirits up on the third floor, and they just want to tell their story like everybody else, and hopefully get a chance to go back there again. And I'd like to get my recorder actually to work for the next time I go there, and get some actual like EVPs or stuff like that. But
What happened to the recorder?
it just wouldn't work. I
Was
it
it
was like one of those old. It was like an old school small recorder with a cassette with a mini cassette recorder on it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm actually shopping those on eBay.
Yes.
I've been looking at them today. I want an old one. We use a Tascam, like digital. We have some digital recorders, but we wanted to get something back from the past that we don't have anymore. And I've been looking them up, so it's funny you say that.
I will say that as far as recorders are concerned, I have two of those small recorders, and I haven't been able to get either one of them to actually work the way that I wanted to yet. So and then I was looking into an old school like tabletop one with the old cassettes. You just press the record on the thing.
That's right. Yeah.
Because the first time I've ever seen anybody use one of those was John Zaffis at one of the Salem cons that we went 2 years ago, and it was amazing. He pulled EVPs right off of doing a round table kind of a
and I think the allure of maybe some of that older gear is that it has a hiss, is a little like that Panasonic DR60. We just had a big conversation with Joe Rioni this weekend about that. He owns one of those, and he's coming on in a few weeks as well, and we're going to talk about it because he's got a really good story about his. It's funny as hell. And but that hiss, I feel like it's like a painter's palette. That's what I describe it as to the spirits. Like if you've got a little bit of noise, sometimes not having any noise or total silence isn't necessarily a good thing. Although if you get an EVP, then it's like super clear. But sometimes I think that hiss or whatever kind of background noise is going on contributes to the EVP. Like they can use it almost as like I say, a painter's palette. I don't know.
I think so. No, and on just a human level, a lot of the spirits that we encounter are spirits who passed generations ago, or spirits who might not realize what a REM pod is or all these high-tech devices, but they might recognize an old school tape recorder that just pressed a button and they can see the tape itself moving around. Or when I like to use my pendulums and my old school devices and my own intuitions when I speak to spirits, because I like to talk to them on a one-on-one level, and I feel more engaged that way. And I mean, I wish I understood the technology more, because some of the devices are really cool, like the millimeters and all of that. But I can't help but stick to the old school style. That's just
I think that's cool. I like the recognition being as a possible factor for interaction. I've thought about this too, like using mics like these, and a mic stand, because it's easily recognizable for generations going back, where they had something at least that looked like, hey, that's the thing you're talking to, right? Maybe they'll hear me, and that'll help.
I think I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think, a lot of places that we go into, I mean, I'm sure you have too, they were built in like the 1700s and the 1800s and even the early 1900s. They don't know what all this new style technology is. Some of them could be frightened by it. We don't know that exactly.
Right.
That's why we always say black boxes. Could you please talk into this, black box and that black box?
Right.
And
this black box with the green light.
They don't. Some of them might not even know. They're so much older, like you said.
Exactly. You wonder what they know, or if that even matters, and it's simply their intent to communicate that makes it happen.
I mean, how can you explain that some ghosts like to use REM pods and some don't?
Right.
I mean, there have been times that we've had multiple spirits in a room, and only one of them wants to be brave enough to go up and smack the rod on the REM pod, or make the lights on the K2 meter go up, or change the temperature in the room on the millimeter.
Yeah.
But they're all the spirits are in that room. But what makes one of them want to go and communicate and the other one's not want to communicate?
It's like the frequency.
Is it because they haven't been identified yet, and that one spirit that they're talking to has been identified like 50, 60 times, and that one spirit is like the most dominant spirit in the room, and then the other ones don't ever get a chance to tell their stories because, well, nobody knows that they're there unless you try to communicate with them too. And you know,
I would agree.
I've been toying with the fact that I feel like I'm more of a paranormal communicator than an investigator. I mean, I don't exactly know what I'd be investigating per se. I mean, I think the term investigator is kind of like an open-ended term too. You know, basically we're all trying to communicate on some level with beings that we can't that most of us can't physically see with our own eyes or touch them or hear them directly talk to us, and we want to use devices, but well, I mean, are we really investigators per se? I mean, I like I've been toying with the term paranormal communicator more so lately than I have been investigator. You know, it's
Oh, that's good. You know, why not? Hey, make a new term. You know, it's all necromancy, and if you really want to go back in time, speaking to the dead, asking them to talk into your recorders and make your boxes change colors and all that stuff. You know, it's kind of goes back that far in a way. You're asking a favor, but yeah, you know, communication is key, and I love that. I like to think that a lot of the things we're talking to are disconnected spirits, but there are probably other things out there as well. What are your thoughts on that?
as far as the other parts of the paranormal, like
the D word,
Bigfoot or aliens and stuff like that.
All of the above.
That's right, and cryptids as well.
You know, I find interest in it. I actually have a couple of books that I've looked at, like Cryptozoology A to Z, and I'm not quite involved in the alien part. I do feel that there could be some merit to it, but until I actually can encounter something like that, and Bigfoot, and it's not hard to really believe that there's a link between man and beast, or however it wants to spin itself, that could exist and could be there too. I mean, they all could be tied together. And there's also a possibility of that too. But
I think
I can't. Personally. I mean, I've focused on the spirit, like the ghost and the spirit side, and I haven't quite put as much time into the others. But I give you know, validity that it could be there. It's just
sure. I think people have those experiences, and they do see them, and you know, there probably are cryptids, and whether or not they are flesh and blood cryptids remains to be seen. In all instances, I think a lot of them probably are interdimensional. I think a lot of the aliens are probably interdimensional as well, and some of the paranormal phenomena we experience that we can't explain or attribute to specific people or things of that nature, not meaning not a spirit of a person, would fall into that same category. That they have just a way of kind of coming into our reality, coming in, making an appearance, and then they're gone, and that sort of thing. And probably some places are more susceptible to that or easier to traverse for them, but
that's true.
It's only theoretical.
I mean, I would love to see the different cryptids. I would love to see Bigfoot. I would love to see aliens. I mean, I might never in my lifetime, and God only knows, but I think that the reality that they could be there is definitely there. You know,
sure, it's definitely valid.
I'm not going to do it. You know, 10 years ago or so, I would never have believed that ghosts and spirits were real, and I never would have put any validity into that. But after all of the experiences that I've had and all the locations that we've been to, and just developing my own skills and my own abilities and my own ways of communicating with them, you know, I'm not going to discredit anything at this point. You know, I'd be a fool to. So I think that you know, the more we dig into it, and hopefully the more we'll get out of it. So
yeah, I think it's really interesting that you were more skeptical of all this stuff until Gene got you to go into SK Pierce, and then that kind of opened your eyes to everything, and then everything else followed.
That's something we didn't know, that Gene is the culprit in this.
She was the driver into the paranormal.
To be honest with you, for years and years, I was a professional wrestler before I got involved in the paranormal. I did that for over 20 years. And,
wow.
You know,
that's awesome.
I used to do independent shows throughout New England and throughout various areas in the country from like 1991 to 2011 when I retired from active in-ring duty, and then I did some work backstage helping out with like character developments and things of that nature for up until last year when I decided to finally move on to a new chapter. But you know, I was involved in sports entertainment for decades first, and then after after Gina and I had gotten married, and she really wanted to start getting into investigating, I found that this was definitely a new path that I wanted to go down as far as interests, and it has been quite the adventure. And I really honestly cannot wait for the next one, and then the one after that, and everything that comes from it. I've been lucky enough. I even the latter half of last year, I was actually able to do my very first speaking engagement. I actually did a lecture up in Maine at the Portland Paracon. And
That's excellent. What did you talk about? What do you lecture on? Is it your haunted experiences from the hospitals, or just
Well, honestly, I did it from I gave them my what I was calling the title originally was From Skeptic to Sensitive, my journey in the paranormal universe, basically, is and just did a basic overview of how I started off in the paranormal and the different experiences that I had, and then I brought up a little bit about the hospitals, and then I opened it up for a little bit of a question and answer at the end of it. It was a very cool experience. I hope to get a chance to do it again. So,
that's great.
That's great. That's really cool. It
was good to get the nerves. You gotta dust the nerves off of that. It's
sure.
Yeah. Some comments out here in the audience. Ronald says, I worked at the Overbrook Insane Asylum in Cedar Grove, New Jersey. After what I experienced, I don't even go looking for more. Make me wonder why they are still looking for something better left alone. Well, because it's kind of exciting. Plus, it's also proof of an afterlife. And I find that part of it sort of a driver for us. We like to prove that there is something beyond death, which is the big question. People want to know what happens when you die, right?
It is true, but
Emory Young says, hey, Emory, by the way, I wish somebody would investigate around my area in Virginia. I want to go. Emory's a good friend.
Sure Virginia must have a lot of cool places too.
Next time we
ask Eric. And my cousin Eric, yeah.
That's right.
Eric's a novice.
He's in Virginia.
We're getting him in there.
That's right.
That's awesome.
Joshua Dixon says, I've actually had EVP recorders disappear in investigations after reviewing them. No one could have stolen them. It's as if an entity did not want to be heard publicly, as it was weird. Well, I got a little story about that. Have you ever been to Elder Baloo, Jeremy? The cemetery in Cumberland? Elder Baloo?
No.
Elder Baloo. It's a cemetery in Cumberland. It's quite haunted, quite creepy. In fact, wow. You guys go to our YouTube page. The background picture in that is from Elder Baloo. Mm-hmm. It's a haunted cemetery, and there's a gray man that's been seen there, and I've seen him. And we've had some other experiences. But years ago, I had a recorder set up that in the front of it, they have those receiving vaults, which are the places where they store bodies here. And you know this, Jeremy, in New England, because the ground is frozen in the winter and they can't dig into the ground. Back in the day, they couldn't do that. So they put them in these kind of crypts to hold into spring when they could break the ground. And I believe there's 4 of them right in front of Elder Baloo Cemetery. And I had put a recorder, they're kind of, a couple of them are open, recorder in one of them. And then the team I was on, we walked around the cemetery. There was nobody around. It was at night. We could totally see headlights and things like that if anybody had come in there. And I had left the thing running. I went to go pick it up, and I'm like, oh, the battery must have died. It was turned off. And when I played it back, it was running for a long time. And then you heard a noise like a rock dropping in the crypt itself. And it didn't land on the recorder. And something turned it off. It was like they just, nope, you're not getting that.
Wow. I mean,
so that was so small. Like I would have seen somebody who walked in and did it, and you would hear it as footsteps, but it didn't sound like footsteps. Almost sounded like an animal or a rock or something. Like it was a weird noise, and then click, you could hear something touch the recorder and turn it off.
Oh wow.
So sometimes they don't want to be heard, right?
I mean, I've been to some cemeteries that have had some very interesting results. Actually went to a couple of years ago, went down to visit a friend of mine, Jessica, in Connecticut, and my friends Russ and Nicole Stiver were also there, and we went to an old Revolutionary. Hey, Bob, how you doing? We went to a Revolutionary War cemetery down in the Connecticut area, and Nicole had her pendulum, and Russ had his tablet that he was using his Ovilus for, like get the words up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was able to locate the grave of the person who like was the spirit controller of the cemetery. It felt like, and Russ put his tablet. His spiritual gatekeeper, and Russ put his tablet on top of the tombstone while we were talking, and it threw his tablet off of the tombstone, and in the same time period, it actually broke Nicole's pendulum off of the chain.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, it just snapped it right off the chain while she was sitting there trying to talk to it. It spun and went and just tore it off the chain.
Oh.
Wow.
That's creepy.
I mean,
creepy. Just some more comments out here. I'm gonna go through a few. Joshua. He said, when I said a painter's palette, he replied with that. They have little results from REM pods unless children. Yeah, well, we've had pretty good results. I like the REM pods. I know it's a static electricity that sets them off, but I think they're interesting. We were in the Conjuring house, and we had a REM pod set up with some friends of ours, and we got the idea to play some music, and we played "Send in the Clowns."
God!
Remember that song? Send in the clowns.
Yeah, well,
it seemed to start chirping back like very beep, 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 trying, like, it's only one note, but it seemed like it was trying to phrase the song as it was playing, and that was quite interesting.
That is definitely
necromancy. I love the vocabulary. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Talking about that, I got a quick REM pod story for you. Actually, it brings me back to the USS Salem, and last year I went down there on my birthday to help out on an investigation, and we were in the officers' mess area, and we were walking back and forth trying to help out with the groups, and actually Dave was with the one who was actually watching was with me when we walked into the room. We sat down at the table, and Dave's like, "Hey, do you know it's his birthday today?" And the REM pod tried to use the different things to say happy birthday. It was like, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I was like, "Oh shoot!" It was going between colors,
right? Isn't it cool? And it's hard to explain these things. You're telling somebody who's never seen anything like that before, that story, they're kind of going to look at it.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
That's cool. But and if I had not seen it for myself,
something like
great.
You go, oh yeah, no, I buy it. I can hear it in my head.
If it wasn't for the other 10 to 12 people that were in the room, I would have said it was BS myself. But we literally walked by it. We were in the room for maybe about a minute and a half. He made the smart ass comment to tell the spirit that it was my birthday. And next thing you know, you hear the first 6 notes of happy birthday.
Oh, that's so neat.
I'm like, oh my dear God, I don't even know why the heck that happened, but it did. It was cool. But
cool.
Let's see, just a couple more comments. Joshua had a couple more. You mentioned, he said he had a hard time believing Bigfoot. Is alien just my opinion? No, I understand. And you know what? I was there, and now I'm starting to go, yeah, maybe it is alien. Maybe maybe what we're calling alien isn't even the right word. It's right here with us and just outside our 3D matrix. But that's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
Then he asked, what made his wife get into paranormal, and then piqued your interest, Jeremy? That's what.
Honestly, Joshua, my wife has been a fan of the shows for a long time. When Ghost Hunters first came out, Paranormal State, Ghost Adventures, all those kind of, she was just, I think it was the intrigue to it, and her interest in the paranormal was, like I said, well before mine. And it was only when she really wanted to go to an investigation, and I went begrudgingly and kind of joking around about certain things and whatnot and so forth, and then the results that happened. And then every time we would do another event, something else would happen. Whether I got my neck scratched, or I got a bruise on my arm that wasn't there, or I got pushed up against a wall. And to be honest with you, Chris, I'm a big guy, so moving me up against the wall is an impressive feat in and amongst itself. So I think that all of these experiences, plus just overall, just the more you get involved in, the more you dig yourself into it. I think the more results you're going to get, and the more respect you have for the places that you go to, and the spirits you encounter, and I believe in full blown respect with them. I don't antagonize. I don't go in there trying to quote unquote pick a fight with a spirit. Like,
Don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't like that
Why do
whatsoever.
you think the spirits are angry enough to push you against the wall?
I don't know if they were angry or if they were just trying to get my attention. The scratches on the back of my neck is actually an interesting little story. I'll tell that one. So, SK Pierce, we were up on the 3rd floor, and there was a closet that had some really unscrupulous things that had happened to in there over, some of the stories we were told. So there were some guys who were up there messing around earlier in the night.
Something of a rape room, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I was trying to be nice about it, but yeah, pretty much there was a lot of bad. But basically, what happened is that I was investigating on my own at the time, and there were some guys up there who were screwing around, and I think they provoked in that area. I just happened to go in there shortly after they did, and all of a sudden, I felt really flush, and my neck started hurting, and like all the energy just came out of my body, and I went downstairs, and I must have drank like 4 bottles of water in like a minute and a half. I mean, I was just trying to get, and I had scratch marks on the back of my neck that weren't there. And
wow.
Actually, just as I was sitting at the table downstairs drinking my water, the 4 guys come running downstairs going, "Okay, we're out of here." And took a quick staging, and out the door they went,
Wow. So they were probably worse even. I totally agree with you 100%. Nothing to be gained from the provocation, and you don't know what you're talking about. And then if you did, you'd probably respect it more anyways. That was a good question. Thank you, Joshua.
Yes,
Bob Burnell says the cemetery in Plymouth, Mass is wicked haunted.
Wicked.
Off the hook. Off the chain.
I agree. Yeah, that cemetery right where the churches are. I had an experience with a spirit named I believe his name was William, and he was actually the one who escorted me out of the church when we were doing the investigation down there. Sam Beltrusos was running a Paracon at the time in Plymouth, and we got a chance to walk around the cemetery during the day. But Bob is right. That place is really amazing. There's a lot of lore in there, and you can definitely can tell that there's stuff going on there too.
What was the name of the cemetery? I assume this was the story maybe you were talking about investigating with Russ on the tablet.
What's that?
Was that the cemetery you were in when you were investigating?
No. The cemetery that happened with Russ's tablet was in Connecticut. That was actually a revolution. It was a Revolutionary War cemetery, a small one, like a little bit off the beaten path down in Connecticut. But yeah,
I see. Bob's other comment was, "I was there, Jeremy. It was Carl and James Duo.
I think he meant
Duo. Oh, yeah, Duo Demonology, of course."
Oh, okay, yeah.
Joshua asked, "Did you used to wrestle in Tampa?" He says you look familiar.
Yeah.
I had wrestled once or twice down there for NWA back in 2000, 2001. Did some matches down there.
Did you did you have like a stage name or?
Yeah, I used to call myself the Outpatient. I used to have like long hair and like the darkened eyes. I used to wear like the shredded clothes. I did a character like an insane person. So
beautiful, beautiful.
It was a lot of fun
for a Slipknot concert.
Thank you. Yeah.
We love Slipknot, by the way.
So do I, actually. I like their first album the most, but
this new song they just came out.
Volume 3 is my favorite. New song's good. Song's good. Joshua also said, I think they did that to you because you're a big guy and they wanted to show you they're stronger. So yeah, maybe.
It could have been. I wish I could. Burial Hill is the cemetery in Plymouth.
Yeah.
Okay,
Burial Hills, the cemetery in Plymouth. All right.
Yeah. It's a beautiful cemetery. It's a beautiful cemetery.
Yeah. I find it interesting that cemeteries can be haunted, and they certainly can be. Elder Baloo is just one that we like. Happens to be close to where we are, but one of our favorite spots is Spider Gates, We've
I
had
still gotta get that. I want to get the spider gates really bad. That's like,
experiences.
and I know that it's not that far. Like Clinton's not that far from me. I should definitely
It's
check
in
it out.
It's just outside of Worcester. It's near Worcester Airport.
Yeah,
So it isn't that bad. It isn't that bad.
you'll see. It's very quiet.
David says Stone Sour is more my preference.
Yes,
I think
that
Kristen's too. I think you're more of the Stone Sour fan.
I like both of them. I'm sorry. And here's how bad I am right now with this, because I'm just want to tell you guys. Chris had to tell me that Corey Taylor was the singer of Stone Sour. I'm like, Slipknot. I'm like, no, sir.
She didn't believe me.
I had absolutely no idea.
Same guy.
Months ago that they.
And the bass player Paul was also the bass player for Slipknot as well. So
nice.
They look a little alike, but
right.
Scott,
But he's
Corey
the guy
Taylor's
who
friend,
passed, right? That's the one that
Yeah.
passed.
It's all good,
Yeah, no, we love that music.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I'm definitely I'm a metalhead at heart, so I always have been.
Godsmack shirt on.
Yeah,
We went to go see
Godsmack.
Godsmack
Very cool.
not too long
Very,
ago.
very cool.
Yeah, we only had to
Sorry,
wait 3
we
years for
scrolled.
that concert.
Yeah.
I
I waited 23 years.
put off.
Yeah. Then 2 years. Chris gave me the tickets after like 23 years of finally getting to see him. He gave me the tickets for like my birthday and a Christmas present. And
Wow.
Yeah, I think I
But-
came to you for Christmas because it was around your birthday. It was in April.
but
So it was
anyway,
like whatever.
the pandemic hit and I waited another 2 years and 4 months to go see these guys. So
Yeah,
I saw,
because of COVID, what can you do?
I think I saw Godsmack back in like 1997, 98,
Mhm.
back in
yeah.
that time period.
Yeah. It
Remember when
was
they were first starting out? They used to do a lot of the clubs in the Boston area, stuff like that. So
yeah. I couldn't go. I had kids, lots and lots of kids. So
Yep. Back in those days, I was playing in bands. I played in cover bands
yes.
for a number of years.
cool.
In fact, playing
Very
things like Godsmack.
Yes.
So
Anyway,
interesting.
moving on.
Anyways, back to the paranormal. Back to the world of paranormal. It's all intertwined. Horror movies,
Everything.
metal, and paranormal all go very well together. I'm afraid to tell anybody, just they do. Bob says, have any of you been to Ventfort Hall? Fort. I'm not saying that right.
Bedford, Bedford Hall. It's out in Western Massachusetts. I was in the area, but I did not get a chance to go to it because I forget what the circumstances were, but we didn't get a chance to actually go to it. But we were at another paranormal convention out in the Berkshires, and I believe Bedford Hall is like right out in that area. And we didn't actually go to the hall. I wish we had, because I've heard good things about Bedford, Lenox, Massachusetts. Yep. So out in the Berkshires. Yep, it's in the Berkshires.
Yeah, I believe that's out in Western Mass. That's cool.
Way
No, we
out there.
haven't been either. But
No.
he's going for the first time this weekend. I have a good time, Bob. Let us know how it is, and
Please do.
what data you come across and experiences you have. Experience is a lot of it, and again, it's not all just the data. You got to enjoy the experience as
Mhm.
well.
I believe so too. It's like, we can't prove anything. We can't disprove anything. We can try to get as much quote unquote evidence as we can to validate what we've actually seen or heard with our own eyes and ears. But I think there's just so much more to this field that is just starting to come into it, and I think that we've only cracked the surface of everything that's going on.
That's right.
Yeah, we agree.
For all the data that we capture and things that are said that seem so relevant, we could be talking to aliens.
I actually
Well,
I was at one point. So
It's
Yeah.
funny. You and I, we could go to Lizzie Borden, and you and Kristen could get different results than I do, being in the same room, just at a different minute or different time. And it's like, well, I thought we were talking to the same people, but we might not be. And
I can have a group of people looking at, in a certain direction, and an apparition appears, and only 3 of them see it. It's almost like they choose,
who?
who gets to see them or what's heard. And, they definitely choose the microphones.
Mm.
I believe, we have a story about spider gates. I'll tell you a quick story, and a lot of our listeners already know this one. But our first trip to spider gates it was 2019, I think. We were walking toward the edge wall, and Kristen has a digital recorder, the Tascam, with headphones like these plugged into it. And all she's hearing is everything that's coming through the recorder. And I'm walking with her, and behind us, we had a spirit box kind of like 30 feet behind. And we hear somebody go, hello, like really scream,
It
hello.
echoed. I wish
Scares
it
the
was.
shit out of us, right? And this
Yeah.
cemetery is like set back off the road. You got to walk like a quarter mile down this kind of rocky road. It's used to be a main road in the 1950s, but it's just barely a path now. So, but you can drive a car down it potentially, or police
It's for
could.
the reservoir.
Yeah, we just thought somebody was like, you're not supposed to investigate. There was daytime, and just scared the crap out of us. Jumped up on the wall. I'm looking around. There's nobody around. Nobody. Absolutely nobody was there. We play back the recording, and it's not on the recorder. Right?
We had another
Wow.
recorder.
Now, all she can hear is like everything that's coming through the recorder, right? Because she's got it plugged into the headset. She hears it, jumps up in here just like I did.
Yep.
That's amazing. It really is.
So it's just an experience, I can tell people about it, but knowing
You
that
had
it
to be
wasn't in the
there.
recorder, and like, wow, that is
Yeah.
like, up there on my list of
But the
paranormal.
most important thing is that you had that experience,
Right.
and
Yeah.
nobody can take that experience away from you. They can doubt you, they can try to disprove you, whatever, but you had that experience, and to me, that's the most important thing: having the experience, having that interaction with the spirit that you might not have had if you didn't go there at that particular time and do what you had to do at the time.
At that same time as well, we got an EVP, a really good one. It said
Just
Rock
after.
was old.
That's right.
Right
Yeah,
after
there's
that.
more stuff to that story.
It was in the same time frame, the same span of energy feeling.
Yeah,
energy, I feel
it was like a
So,
thing just happened, and then
all
for a
incredibly
few seconds we're in
coincident.
that paranormal energy, and all this stuff happened,
Yeah,
and
Wow.
it was so strange.
it was wicked strange.
But it's hard to explain those things unless you've had those kind of things happen to you. Bob says the road to Spider Gates is more creepier than the Spider Gates itself. It is. I think it's kind of pretty.
It's
But-
pretty, but I do agree that
it
it
is.
does have spirits. They do have spirits around the woods there. So
It's neat. The woods are kind of haunted. We think the land is
The
got
thing-
more to do it with it
Yeah.
than the cemetery itself, really. But,
Probably.
yeah, there's something to it. It's cool. We've had a lot of cool experiences there, and happen to like that place a lot.
yeah, we
That's
do.
awesome.
But yeah, I went off on a
gotta
little
go.
bit of a tangent. Where were we?
That's okay. You know what? The most important thing is that we're getting information out there. We're just having a good time talking about it. And I think you brought up something that I have noticed. Like lately, to me, it doesn't matter whether it's daytime or nighttime. I have experiences in both daytime and nighttime, so I don't necessarily feel that you can get some great results during daytime hours. You don't necessarily have to be. I'm not sure if Mr. Trudel, I'm not really sure.
Oh, just somebody
Yeah.
commented they may have seen you
they may have
wrestling.
seen you.
No, that's
But,
cool. That's
I just
cool.
took comments up.
We say that too. The only
Mm-hmm.
reason why in night, the shows do it to make it look creepier, but also at nighttime it's more quieter, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
agree with you, but I mean, you can go to an abandoned, or you can go to a house that doesn't get much traffic, like Emory Estate. I had the majority of my interactions with the spirits at Emory Estate before it even became sundown. I mean, we got there a couple of hours before everybody else got there, and my interactions for a lot of that were with people during the hours of like 3 and 6 o'clock, or 6 and 7 or whatever it was, but it wasn't even dark for at least another hour after that. So, I mean, I don't necessarily believe that everything has to be done in the dark at night.
No,
You
it
know,
doesn't. It's just
because
a
I
food
mean,
factor thing, really, is a lot of it. And certainly it is quieter for recordings in general, but
cars and stuff. But
I think it's more about the intensity of like stumbling around the dark or something
yeah,
that draws people to it. But it's not necessary, absolutely. We do a lot of day investigating. I think most of our investigating is day investigating. So that's how that rolls.
really good.
Joshua says, can't remember the name. God, I'm awful, but there's a New Jersey road where a phantom car chases you. We have one in New York too. Well, Josh, actually, I think pretty much every state has one of these.
I
There's
think
one
we
in
just
Freetown
started that.
Forest too, as well.
Yeah.
Out here,
I've
our way.
heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's folklore that just, it's so interesting. There's always little kids in the cemetery, a woman in white,
Yeah.
certain roles. We call them roles that the spirits seem to play, whatever they are.
It's true.
Will play those roles, and you hear a lot of the same lore and legends from town to town, to state. Absolutely.
Yeah. I forgot another one. Actually, we're heading to Sleepy Hollow in October for a convention up there that our friend Chris Andrews is putting on up in.
You heard about that?
Mhm.
And I'm looking forward to going to Sleepy Hollow and checking out the cemetery up there and a few of the other places that really just pique interest. I've seen clips. I've seen clips on TikTok videos and stuff of people being in that area, and I really can't wait to get up there and feel the energy up there too.
Sure.
You know,
Like the legend of the headless horseman, right?
Yes.
To go with Sleepy Hollow. Like, how did he know where he was going? Yeah, no head. And he's driving out like, come on.
exactly.
And I'd end up in a field and just
That noise going on.
Old school spirits, you know. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'd like to go out there too. We would.
Yeah, maybe we'll head up there. It sounds like a nice, fun October thing to do. You know,
We have to.
So definitely planned it correctly with all of the with going up to having the convention during, you know, October, Halloween style season, and all of that kind of stuff. Definitely is.
Are you going to the Mass Paracon and
In Concord?
Concord, thank you, Concord.
Yeah, that's I actually work in Concord.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay, cool. We'll see you up.
Yeah, we'll be there.
We're going up as vendors. We're gonna have a table set
Yeah,
up.
Sam's having it at the Colonial Inn.
The Colonial Inn. Yes, I think he's got a book coming out on the Colonial Inn and its notorious hauntings.
Yeah,
That place is definitely interesting. I've had a couple of minor experiences there with hearing beer glasses clink together out of the bar area, and there was nobody in there. Yeah, you can actually hear the two glasses like clink together, like somebody was toasting each other, and you can hear a little bit of conversation in there. But
wow,
yeah, that's a good story. A lot of good
like
stories come out of the Colonial Inn, so that should be fun.
It's a beautiful place, you know.
Are you going to the Ocean State Paracon?
That's what, in a couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah, it's coming up. I don't know if it's next week or the week after. It's coming up. We want it.
I wish I could. I unfortunately can't squeeze them all in there because of my work schedule. But you know,
yeah,
we try to go to as many as possible. It just feels like people are just shoehorning events in on weekends. That, you know, it's like, oh crap! I wish I knew about that a month ago. I would have actually taken a day of time off from work to do it. You know?
Yeah. And there's a lot of them too. In fairness, you know, there's a lot. That's a good one. That's a classic one. I haven't done it a number of years.
Ken DaCosta and his Rise Up Paranormal people do that one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ken's a great guy, you know.
He's a good dude. He is a really smart guy. He's one of those guys I like to say about Ken. If you ask him, like, you know, what's the weather going to be like tomorrow, he'll tell you something about the paranormal you didn't know. About some little tip or something will come out. You're like, you're right, Ken.
We used to go to that Ocean State Paracon when it was at the original location that had like the auditorium and the outdoors and all that kind of stuff. And
I went last year set up when it was in the basement of a church. I think it was in Woonsocket, and I was on a paranormal. It's like 10 years ago. I was on a paranormal team, and we set up in the basement of this church.
Oh wow!
A lot smaller then, but it was pretty cool, you know.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, last year.
10 years.
No, I don't think it
last
was 10 years. It was like only.
Sorry, Jeremy.
Something okay.
Like, yeah, and that's when I was first started doing this stuff back then.
Yeah,
and I kind of got out of it for a while. And I had a hard time. I don't know if you know, but like Kristen was very resistant to the paranormal. We've been going out for a long time, and she didn't like this stuff until a few years ago, as her own house was more haunted. And then I convinced her. Well, it's because of very legit reason, childhood experiences, being pushed down a flight of stairs, that sort of thing. Lived in a very haunted location growing up. Mm-hmm. She's just pretty haunted. She's a haunted bag of squirrels.
That's what he calls me.
That's my nickname for her. But you know, it took her a while to get into it. But when she's like full on. And I guess about 2019 we started doing the stuff together, and it got a lot better then. You know, because at that point I was like petering out with it. I was barely doing anything. Like, I don't know, she hated it, so what was I gonna do, you know?
I think that the best part about it is that you guys have each other to work with and have the adventures together, kind of like Gene and I have our paranormal adventures together. So right. You're with somebody. I don't necessarily know if I would be involved in the paranormal if it wasn't for my wife. You know, I don't think I would have gone down that particular path years ago. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I kind of jumped down the rabbit hole, so to speak, and I'm constantly wanting to do more and engage more and talk to more spirits and just, you know, get a better understanding of stuff. You know, it's
I think that's awesome. I love couples.
I can agree with you. Yes,
in the paranormal, and it is such a great outlet to do as a couple, and go out and, you know, share those experiences together. So that's really cool. I'm glad you and Gene do that as well.
Yes, Joshua.
Joshua's couple seem to get more responses. That's
And,
it works for us. I'm telling you, like, you know, we both had pretty good luck on our own doing this stuff, like when we've been apart, but together it always works better.
One up,
I
babe.
don't know why.
The one.
Still my favorite paranormal show. I get a
What do you
lot.
say one up there?
I've got more pages up than you. I got more pages than you. Judges the haunted bars. I always bring bottles of liquor and cigarettes. I don't consider that provocation, but something they enjoyed in the physical life and to maybe get a response.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trigger items are a big thing in the paranormal, you know.
Tobacco. I bring tobacco everywhere.
I think it's cool, you know.
Yeah, it is cool. It's good for an offering as well. We do a lot of offerings before we go in and tell them how much we respect them, and we're not, you know.
That's Clowny.
Oh, good Lord.
Clowny goes a lot.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
Such a traveling clown, and
Clown.
Clowny was there for the Send in the Clowns night.
he was. That's how that all.
That's
started.
how that ended up going on. So
Yeah.
one of our friends was giving me a hard time, like, "What's with the clown, man?
Thank you, Ann.
Why do you keep bringing out that clown?" And so yeah, and I played the song.
Yeah.
Then
But it's cool. I mean, like you said, trigger objects are a big thing. Whether you know you're using like playing cards and asking them to possibly say the number that's on a playing card, or if you have a small stuffed animal with you and you bring it and you put it out for a kid to try to play with it or try to identify it or anything of that nature is cool. You know.
Yeah, they like
And
my hair. That's my trigger object. Is my hair. I don't know why.
I don't have that trigger object. No, my hair's all gone.
That doesn't happen. Happens to me less and less every day. So
yeah,
exactly.
I don't know what it is. I like to pull my hair, fingers through my hair.
I like to pull.
I don't. Please, come on. It's a show. Just they just. I don't know what it is. I have a good thing about that with Paul. Clipping my house. We're sitting in my house and somebody ran their fingers through my hair and I said, "Who's that?" It said, "Not me." It was from the spirit box. "Not me, Harry." And it said Paul like 5 times. So I call it the blame game. Yeah. In all different voices.
I do like
it
that.
We're
fans of the spirit box. How do you feel about spirit boxes? ITC.
Actually, I like the newer style ones that don't have all that.
Oh, the noise gate in them, yeah.
You know what? The newer style, the portal style boxes where you get like clear words that come through, and it's not using the channels of the. Or if it's using the channels of the radio, it doesn't sound like it's constantly doing that. Like
we had a conversation this afternoon about that. So, like, I'm really into the ITC stuff, and I like the wonder boxes. And what that is, it's a noise gate. It's really a guitar pedal effect or music effect, and it's kind of like if you have an electric guitar and you let your fingers off of it, it makes a little bit of noise, right? So it only allows noise after a certain point. So it cuts out a lot of that sound. That's what they make the wonder boxes. And I think it's a great idea, but I also think there's data that we've gotten that we really like. We might have missed if we had that going.
Mm-hmm.
We think we would have missed it unless it was, Spirit's intent to make it come through anyways, where like things were kind of buried in the sound and that kind of stuff. I worry about missing data, but I do agree that it gets, it's rattling at 4 a.m. to be listening.
Yeah, no.
For like 2 hours.
I'll be honest with you. I can only handle those kind of boxes for like maybe a couple of minutes. And then I have to excuse myself from the room, go to another room and go and investigate in a room that the box is not in. Just because it gets under my skin for some reason. It's weird. I guess. I mean, I like like I said, I don't know the particular titles, but the boxes that don't have all that sound to them, whether that's the stations going forward, backwards, or otherwise.
You don't want to hear the radio noise as much.
Right.
Bob says use the ANC Mini, and I believe that's a new product from the company there. What the heck's his name? Gary Galka came out with. If I'm not mistaken, that kind of reduces some noise. And Joshua says noise reduction. We use that in Audacity sometimes when we're playing back some of our stuff, and it is also another way to get rid of some of the static and it can bring out other frequencies too. Then sometimes you might hear something you didn't hear the first pass.
Okay,
good stuff.
Yeah.
Douglas Young. We got Douglas and Anne Marie out there.
Doug.
Both. What's going on, Doug? How's it
going? husband.
That's Emory's husband right there. So yeah, this has been a good talk. I'm having a lot of fun.
Yes, we are.
Where do you see yourself a year from now, Jeremy?
Hopefully continuing on with my paranormal journey. The more locations I get to go to, and the more interactions I get to have, the more in tune with it I feel that I become. And I'm hoping that eventually, I get a chance to do some more of the talks, like on the podcast, or if I get a chance to do like a speaking engagement here or there, because I really enjoy talking with people, and I like to share my adventures with people, so that just in case you're not like prone to using all of the hardcore equipment, you can see that somebody gets to have experiences by using the old school devices, or somebody who was originally a hardcore skeptic, maybe even a cynic, so to speak, can evolve into a sensitive and all of those kind of things. So I mean, I feel that my entire paranormal journey is far from over. It's just I'm kind of curious where it goes from here, and I'm open and to every experience, and I take them all in with positivity, and I try to encourage everybody to do the same, so that's how I feel about
Absolutely.
That's great.
All right, my friend, this has been great. I think we're going to wrap things up and call it a night. We're starting to sweat in here a little bit too profusely, and of course, I'm surprised it's still even working.
I am too.
This thing here, oh my
it's
god,
on fire.
There's smoke coming up by now.
I was just going like this.
thank you guys for the opportunity to come on and chat with you tonight. It was a great experience. I enjoyed myself a lot. So
thank you.
We enjoyed having you.
It was awesome having
you
with us, and thank you for coming in and having this talk.
Yeah,
we'll do it again, and I look forward to seeing you at the events and investigations out there. And
please tell Jean we said hello.
Tell Jean we said hello.
Next time we'll have to come on with you.
Sounds great. Have a good night, guys.
You too. Thanks again,
all right,
Jeremy.
you too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's all the time we have for tonight on Dark Horse Paranormal. Please join us Saturday afternoon when we will have Bigfoot and the Bunny. We are live this week. I know we're taking a lot of Saturdays off the summer because, I like to have some fun too. But we're going to have Michelle Carpenter. We're talking all things metaphysical, and it'll be an interesting show, and you'll dig it. So we'll see you then Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, Bigfoot and the Bunny. Till then.
Thanks, everybody.
Enjoy your weekend.
Bye-bye.